Morning, Jake Harvey Thomas. This is day 4, Monday morning, Kaizen job. Day 4, day 3 really. I suppose if you break down the hours that we've been here, it's probably 3 full days sort of spread over 4, just the way concrete and the bits and pieces work. We don't need to spend a whole day just to throw concrete in some holes. So anyway, I'm waffling. So this is where we're at. So we concreted those posts in on Friday, and then my daughter actually made it to the speech finals at school. So that was my afternoon. Perks of being in business. There's not many, but that's one. So we've looked at the foundation plan. This is our cross section, and if you see this here, this gives us our height. So FGL, that's finished ground level, and then we're minus 650, which somewhere on here it does say FFL at 0. So FFL plus minus 0, so that's finished floor level, and then finished ground level is minus 650. So you get 0, take 650, floor is 650 mils, just over half a metre above the dirt. So we'll take that as our lowest point, we'll set a level, and then we'll mark that on all these piles. We then have to work out the thickness of our bearers, which are these, and we will add that width to the width of our joists, and then we'll take that off our total measurement, because then we're sort of working backwards from that 650 measurement, and that'll give us roughly what our floor wants to be. And obviously the section's sloping, so 650 is sort of going to be our minimum, and we're going to be a bit higher at the back. So yep, and yeah, should be able to get all that framed up today, all going well. So yeah, we'll crack on. So in this video we are using a chainsaw, but it's just to take the corner of the pile off, because the standard pile is 125 mils square and our bear is 90 mil wide. So that gives us 35 mil a square on one side, and we just want to cut that at a 45 angle, and it's just easier to do that with a chainsaw. So we did cut all of the piles initially with a skill saw, but that video, I don't know what's happened. It had the wrong, I think it focused in on me as I was setting it up, and then it refused to change for some reason. So that video is just a 30-minute blur, unfortunately. There are a couple of reasons why we cut the corners of the piles off. One, if you're building a deck, would be to stop rainwater, stormwater from sitting on top of the pile. It just lets the water hit it and drain straight off. This is a subfloor in a house, so there shouldn't be any water getting under it. But we do have pile fixings, especially for our anchor piles. There's nail plates and bits and pieces that we've got to put on the side. And obviously, we flush up on one side of the pile, easy to get our nail plate on. On the other side, if you can imagine trying to bend it around a corner, doesn't work so well. So we cut that angle off, and then we can just bend the plate slightly, make it all nice and as it's designed, and then everything goes together like it's supposed to. So that's the reason for that. And we're using a chainsaw just to save the batteries, really. That's all it is. It's just a little bit faster. So we're just about to start throwing some joists down. We'll start getting it marked out, but I'll just show you where we're up to and what we've been doing and why. These are our chainsaw cuts that you would have seen. And again, it's not because we're rough, it's because we're faster. And it's faster to use that saw, otherwise we'd have to make 2 cuts with a skill saw or one cut and finish it with a hand saw. But as you can see, pretty bang on. And all this is subfloor framing, so it's supporting the floor, but it's not the floor. So as we move into our pink timber, which is our actual joists, that's when we'll start. Our cuts will be, I won't say a lot more accurate, because we're still pretty bloody accurate with a chainsaw, but I guess neater. Well, yeah, much of a muchness, but we'll chop into using the skill saw because they're just single cuts. We're not trying to cut through 2 bits of wood at the same time. But I guess, so that everything that we're doing at this point, we're trying to get these to line up. That's what we want. So I'll go along the edge actually so you can see. There you can see. That's what we want. We want them all to line up nice and flat. And we want them to be straight along the top for up and down. That's level. And then there should be these outside ones we've set 10 mils to that string line. So the outside one is this. Oh, this outside one hasn't been nailed off. Have you done the other end? So these ones we've just sort of eyeballed them, because again they don't really need to be that straight for left and right. It's up and down level is what we want, but obviously these are pretty good. Now the outside bearer is actually bang in line with our framing, so this is the one that wants to be mint. So we've set this one to a string line, and as you can see that one is pretty bloody good. Yeah, that's just another example of our chainsaw cut. But as we move up the build, it'll get tidier. I mean, the floor joists aren't going to be seen anyway; they're all going to be hidden. But yeah, we'll probably put the chainsaw away now, going forward. But it's just a bit quicker, just to get out of the ground. Nothing wrong with it. Yeah, just saves the batteries a little bit on the other saw, because this sort of stuff does chew through batteries, especially if you're using DeWalt gear. So, no, we'll carry on. At this point, we've got nice flat bearers. We've got a nice big square. We know that our corner piles are all square to each other. The ends of our bearers are cut in a nice straight line, and our bearers running parallel to each other are nice and straight and parallel. So now we're just laying out all of our joists, our pink framing timber. The pink framing timber is not treated for groundwater. Pink denotes that it's just got a boron treatment, which is it's just for borer for bugs, just to stop the bugs eating it. Whereas the green timber, that's treated for groundwater. I mean, there's different levels. I think the house piles they're H5, so they can go in the ground. And then as we move up, our bearers will be 3.2, and then any of our pile fixings will be stainless steel if they're within 600 mils of the within 600 mil of the exposed ground. That just stops corrosion in bits and pieces. So all our nails into the H3 and H5 treated timber will be galvanized, and then as we move into the pink timber, then we can just use just normal bright steel nails. We are staggering all of our joins, so the building is about 8 meters across, and standard framing timber is about 6 meters, sort of the longest you can get. So our joists aren't going to make it across in one length, but what you don't want to do is put all of your joins on the same bearer, because it just creates a weak point in the building. So you'll see here we're starting with a full length going one way, and then a full length coming the other way. In fact, I think we're cutting these, we know what our lengths are. Everything's pretty parallel, so because we took a bit of time getting our bearers spot on, it makes the rest of the framing a lot easier because we can measure one end. We'll check the middle and we'll check the other end, but essentially we can measure one end. We know it's going to be the same the whole way across. We can just count how many we need at that measurement, and we can just have one person. You can see Justin here is just cutting away. We can cut as many as we need at that one measurement without having to stop, start, measure everyone. So it just speeds up the whole process, and then one person's cutting, one person's laying out. We will have strings set up that you can't see in this video at the two outside ends, the cut ends along our bearer lines. And that's just so that we get all our joists. So we'll have set the joists 45 mils back from the bearer, which is the thickness of a joist, and then we'll put those to a string so they're all nice and straight. And then that way, when we slap on our boundary joist, our last bit of timber, that's going to be nice and straight, ready for our floor, ready for our framing. Okay. And now that we've got a bit of timber fixed down, we'll you can see making a start just framing out those bay windows. So they're kind of relying on a little bit of cantilevering. So obviously we need a little bit of timber there so that we've got something to work off. So we've got a base, so we can start figuring that out, and then working backwards from there again and tying all that in. I think there was a pile actually that was missed that wasn't drawn on the plan, so we've added that in. In this we've just framed it, and then we've just dug the pile in afterwards and let it hang there. Sometimes it's easier to hang a pile rather than concrete something in that doesn't exist, and hope it's in the right spot. This way we get it in the right spot first and then add the concrete. So little trick there. So end of day 4. We've run out of wood, but it'll want a bit of planing in spots, but largely it's pretty good. So from all of that, that's still our rubbish pile. A lot of those piles will keep because there's decks and bits and pieces to go on at the end. We can also use those on other jobs for decks. So sustainability trend again. This big pile here is our offcuts from the joist, but we've actually got quite a few nogs to cut in, which you'll see tomorrow. So there's a boundary joist like this one to go right the way along there, and then in between all of these gaps we'll be cutting short bits of timber nogs in there, just because we've got to have a double, just so we've got some fixing, because that's where our exterior wall will go. So all those offcuts there will get cut up. Those little bits there we might use for blocking. They might get thrown away, but we'll keep them there for now. But yeah, end of day 4. I'm going to go grab some plywood and some insulation. And there's a whole load of brackets and bits and pieces, boring stuff that we may or may not film, but is all necessary and will need to go on. Most of the stuff comes with instructions, so if you are doing it at home, you're not missing much by us not filming it. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to work it out. I think we ran out of timber yesterday, so we're just bringing in the rest of that now. Get that framing finished up. That's our boundary joists going on now. So because we've already set those joists to a string line, we know they're straight. So there's no cutting or messing around. We can just slap that joist straight on there, and we know that it's going to be mint. So it's just that thinking ahead, just trying to make our lives easier, and which generally leads to a better job all round, really. So yeah, that's the way we like to go. So you can see one person pre-cutting a load of nogs in the background. And back to that theme of accuracy, because we've spaced all of our joists, we've taken quite a bit of care to position our joists as accurately as we can. It means that we can go through then and pre-cut our nogs. We don't have to measure them individually. So our joists are at 450 centers, so our nog should be 405. I think we cut them about 404, 403, something like that, just to give a bit of variation in the timber. Like it's the machining on the timber is not always spot on. And you might find that every fifth or sixth nog you might have to trim a bit off anyway, but it means that you're putting in 4 or 5 nogs that you don't have to measure, because obviously you measure one, walk to the saw, cut it, walk back, nail it in, measure the next one, versus count how many nogs you need, 20 per side, whatever, go and cut all of them. You're going to get most of them in. So, like nail 5 in, 6th one doesn't fit, maybe it needs a blade off, leave that one there, skip it, go to the next one, do the next 5. Another one doesn't fit, etc., and you just go and tidy those ones up at the end. So it's speed through being efficient, not speed because you're cutting corners or being rough. So efficiency for the win. So we've got a couple of extra support piles that we're just trying to work out now. There's actually no measurements for them on the plan, but we know they're going to fall under a wall because they're supporting the roof. The only way you can transfer the weight of the roof down to the ground is through a wall. So we found the wall that sits on top of those piles. We'll mark that out with a string, and then we can scale off the plan because we're going to put a nog between the 2 joists in the location that it falls. So we've got about 300 mils either way on that wall line to pick up those 2 critical points. So this way we're well covered, and we know that our load is definitely going to land where it's supposed to, and get all that support that it needs. Here's our man Fabian from Macascaff. They are a fantastic outfit if you are in the need of some scaffolding, whether you're doing a re-roof, whether you're building a bridge, whatever you want. Great local crew in Tikawiti. And we're just having a catch up pretty much as what the building's going to look like and what we're going to need for scaffold, just so he's got a bit of warning. I think our frames are due to arrive in a couple of days from this point. So once the frames are up, we want that scaffold up as soon as possible, because we can't really do trusses or any roof work without that edge protection there. So the quicker he knows what's going on, the quicker we can get something organised. So you need to be 3 steps ahead all the time. Make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you start a job. It's delays through poor organisation is what costs you money in building. Whether it's like if you've booked your scaffold but you haven't booked your roofer, and then your scaffold stays up an extra week or 2, that it shouldn't be there. That's money you're paying out. You're not using the scaffold because you're on the ground. You're literally waiting for the roofer, but you're still paying for that hireage. And there's bits and pieces, right the way through, where poor organisation is, I'd say, probably the number 1 cause of budget blowouts. And it can be a multitude of things, I guess. Incompetence, inexperience. Sometimes you can be competent and experienced, and there's little bits and pieces that'll trip you up. But it's really important that you've got a good project management team, and that you've got a solid sort of timeline. When your key milestones and everything are going to be, well in advance of when you need to be ordering things, just so you don't get those hold-ups. Looks like our building inspector has just shown up to have a look at our subfloor structural framing. This inspection will be a fail, like a technical fail. So he will allow us to carry on and put a floor on. So what he's looking at is our structural fixings and our framing. Make sure we've got the right brackets in the right place, basically. And once the flooring is laid, that will no longer be visible without crawling on your hands and knees and all that. So this inspection allows us to lay flooring. So the reason it's a fail is because, as we mentioned in a previous video, the ground on the site is sloping, and because of that, at the high end of the building, our piles are over 600 tall, which means they automatically default to brace piles, which it's not on the plan because the plan isn't topographic. It's just one of those things. It's no one's fault. It is what it is. We've got to add a couple of braces, and we'll catch up on that. But the main thing is he's happy for us to carry on, lay our flooring, and he'll catch up on the bracing on another inspection.
Building inspector was about, what was he, just less than 2 hours early, eh? Just less than 2 hours early, but we were 80-90% done, so he's had a look around and he is happy. So because we've got a bit of a sloping site, these piles here are over 600. So as we said in an earlier video, our finished floor above ground level is 600 or 650, but the finished floor was about 20 mils higher than this. But then obviously our pile, you're good over 300 mils lower than that, and then with the slope on the site, so this pile's ended up over 600. So this needs to become a brace, but that can be picked up on the next inspection. He's happy for us to carry on. So we've got one between these bays and one between these, and then the same on that other corner down the end. But otherwise we're all good. We've got a couple of extra piles on these nog lines going in. That hole might need moving a little bit. We'll sort that out. That's just hanging there at the moment. That's just because we got some point loads from the trusses above. So we've just had to work out where our internal walls are going to sit. And then we've got some more nogs here because this will actually be the wall of the bathroom. And this has got bracing in it too, so we need some nogs there, just a bit of lateral support for those joists. We've still got a bit of planing and that to do, but I mean, yeah, largely it's all pretty good. Morning, so ready to throw some ply floor down. This is all flat. Show the people. It's all flat and ready to roll. Flooring generally is untreated, but we want treated flooring in our wet areas in our bathroom. So before we start, it's a good idea to work out where the bathroom is. So if we look at our plan, we've got our measurements in from the corner here, and then on the sides that gives us these walls here. So all we've done is we've marked those in blue. That's roughly our area coming out to here. So what we'll do now is we'll actually work we will work sheet distances or sheet widths, 1.2 meters back from here, so that when we get to this point, we're going to be into the treated sheets, so we're not going to have a silly little off cut or whatever. It's going to work for sheets. So we'll do that. We'll get set up. We'll get a string so we can get our first row of sheets dead straight, because once that first row of sheets is on, that's going to be our guide for the rest of our sheets. So we'll set that up and then start throwing some sheets on.
So this was just a follow on. This was us working out where our bathroom sheets were starting, those treated sheets. And then we'll start getting a string line up for our first row of sheets along our long straight wall. You always start with your longest, straightest wall. Set your sheets parallel to that. And once you've got your first line of sheets fixed down, there's no more string lines, there's no more movement really. It's if you don't get those first sheets straight, they only get worse as you move along. So it really pays to get that first run absolutely spot on, and then it's just a case of getting all your joins nice and tight from there. And in theory, as you work your way across, all of your runs are going to be nice and straight. So all the pliers tongue and groove, so we don't need to nog our joins. Everything's going to lock into place. We didn't have 2 7 sheets available, and we've got 4 50 center joists. So we are cutting these sheets down to 2 250, just so that it works for joists, because, well, our joins need to either finish on timber, or the tongue and groove only runs along the long edge of the sheet. So all of our short edges, our butt joins, as they're called, they need to land on timber. We glue the sheets mostly because timber moves, and if you don't glue it as it moves, you walk on it. That's why you get squeaky floors. So we glue the joists, we glue the butt join, we put glue on the tongue of the sheets so that when you push the tongue into the groove, that join's nice and glued, so that when everything dries out and it's all nice and finished, you don't get a squeaky floor, because that's really annoying. And there's not really anything you can do about it once it's carpeted. You can put a load of nogs underneath, glue them up and screw them, but I mean, really, it's going to be a massive headache, and it's going to keep on squeaking. So we just do it right, do it once, and no dramas. So you see us using a sledgehammer to bash the sheets together. It's important to note that we're not just hitting the sheet with a sledgehammer, because you will destroy the edge. It is quite fragile. We are using one of our off-cut blocks, one of our leftover pieces of timber from before, and we're putting that against the edge, but we're also taking care to take the plastic tongue out of the sheet first, because even using a block, if you were to smash a block against the plastic tongue with a hammer, you would bury the tongue and split the sheet and damage the sheet that way as well. So the tongues are plastic. They pull out easy enough just with a claw hammer or a chisel or something. And then that gives you a nice square edge of the sheet. You can put your timber block up against it, and then you can hammer that pretty hard with a sledgehammer. And it's going to make sure that all your joins lock in nice and tight. Same theme as with our joists and with everything in building generally. If whatever material you're using does not make it from one end to the other end in one piece, and you've got multiple joins, stagger your joins, whether it's flooring, whether it's framing, joists, whether you're putting jib on the wall, stagger your joins. Don't have all your joins in the same place, because it will crack, it'll move. So sped this up a little bit because it's just more of the same. You've seen one sheet go down, you've seen 100 sheets go down, but you'll notice the bay windows where the joists change direction. The one bay window on the longer wall is fine, because the joists run the same way as parallel to the rest of the main joists. But that one that juts out to the side, the joists are 90 degrees. So when we run our sheets through, for our tongue and groove to work, we need fixing at 450 centers. Otherwise, it's just too far for our sheet to span. And we also need solid fixing for our butt joint and for the end of our sheet. So yeah, you'll see I've jumped in there and just thrown some nogs in, just so we can pick that up. And then our last bay window, from our last run of sheets, was actually, it was over 1200. Our sheets are only 1200 mils wide, and I think that was 1300 or something from memory watching this, which means we've got a double joist on the end of our long joists, a double boundary joist, and our ply flooring, our last sheet, was going to finish pretty much right in line with where the joists are cut off, which means that double boundary, the join would be right on that double boundary. So it's just a wasted opportunity to sort of to tie it all together. And then obviously we're going to have a wall sitting on that double boundary joist, but there's nothing really tying it in. I mean, we've got some big screws and there's plenty of nails in it, but really, if we can lap that floor, over the join, that's going to tie it in, make it solid as. So what we've actually done is, you'll see the nogs going in now. We've rotated that sheet so that we could incorporate that double boundary joist and lock it in. But in order to do that, it just means a little bit more framing, because obviously we can butt join on solid timber. You can't butt join just across air and space like you can with a tongue and groove. And because we've rotated the sheet, we no longer have that tongue and groove system working. So we've got to put nogs where our sheets are joining, where they're butting together. So that was the nogs going in before, and then it means that we can cut a sheet then 12 by 1300, and we can tie most of that double boundary in.
Hey, Nigel. Try and make a fucking video.
Don't make a video.
Jesus. Bloody noisy, Justin. That's our floor. That's where we're at. That's us. So we just obviously got a few overhanging fruit that we need to trim up, but that's all the sheets on. A few more screws and bits and pieces to put on. You see all the glue oozing out of the joints. That's a good thing because it means there's glue in the joints. What we do, just wait for that to set once it's hard, and then we can just go through with a chisel and just clean it up, and then it's all nice and flat. We've got our treated flooring where our bathroom's going, so it'll be the bathroom there in the back. There's a bedroom either side of the bathroom. Kitchen will be up the front where these two step outs are going to be. Be nice big bay windows, or little bay windows, but bay windows anyway. Yeah, we just got to trim those overhangs. But yeah, we'll crack on.
Just running around now with a chalk line and the track saw and just trimming up just those last of those overhanging sheets, and then we'll jump up on top. We'll double check our big square. We'll do our diagonals again and just make sure that we're good. And at this point, if the floor's slightly out, which I think we were within about 3 mil on this, which is pretty bloody good for a floor. We'll mark exactly square on the floor now with a pencil, exactly where the corners of our frames want to go, and then we'll mark through the center. Once we've done our big square and got a straight line for our outside wall, we'll then measure all of our other wall junctions off of that. And I think it's going to absolutely hammer down with rain the day after this, so it's hard to mark a floor when it's soaking wet. So thinking ahead again. Makes it a lot easier to stand frames too when you already know where they're going. So the truck's just arrived with our frames, trusses, and our roof pack, all our loose framing. Due to the power lines and the, I guess, curve of the driveway, size of the truck, etc., etc., insert reason here. That's as close as he can get to the site, so that's where we're carrying everything from, which, yeah, it's be a fun couple of days. Thanks for watching. If you've been enjoying progress, or if you've got any questions, please ask away in the comments. If there's anything that you would like to see, anything you'd like to see a close-up of, or anything that you're particularly interested in going forward, again, drop it in the comments. If you've got an upcoming project you need a builder for in the Waikato, whether it's a renovation or a new build or a deck, outdoor entertaining area, whatever, if you need a builder, get in touch. We have guaranteed pricing and our reviews speak for themselves. We aim to upload a new video each week of the previous week's progress, so keep checking in. Even better, hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.